now joining me, we have Katie Schultz, and she is the author of Flashes of War, and she is going to talk with us a little bit about her book today on the show. Thank you so much for being with us.
Sure, thanks for having me.
Of course. Now talk with us a little bit about Flashes of War and what kind of inspired you to write this book.
Yeah, that's a good question because I've never served in the military and I don't really have any connections with it, and yet every story in the book is somehow connected to the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Okay.
So all of the characters, either military, civilian, men, women, children, stateside, in Iraq or in Afghanistan, are somehow influenced by the wars, and that's what ties all the pieces together. I was really interested in exploring it because we've been at war for so long.
Right.
And I knew very little when I began about the wars, and had a lot of learning to do and a lot of research to do. And I also used to be a middle school teacher, so I'm really, really interested in the teenage experience right now. And if you're a teenager today, you don't have memories of our country when we weren't at war.
Right.
And I think that's really significant. So that sort of sparked my inquiry, and then just the way my imagination works. It wasn't too long after that before I started making people up.
Sounds great. Now, what was the research that went into writing this book?
I used a lot of Google satellite images and maps. I read a lot of nonfiction about the wars, so how 21st century warfare works. I didn't even really know. And then, to be honest, beyond that, it was really just a matter of researching the human heart in order to make my characters realistic. And a lot of the response from the veteran community has been really positive. It's been really well received, and it was selected as Book of the Year in Literary Fiction by the Military Writers Society of America.
Wow.
So that was a big pat on the back, just to say, hey, you've never been there and you're not from the military, but we believed what you wrote anyway. So
right.
I felt really good that I had done my job.
Definitely. So I'm sure you talked with a lot of people who did have experiences.
I didn't really. Yeah, I didn't conduct soldier interviews.
Okay.
I did go into a recruiting center because I had to get my facts right about like the kind of paperwork that you would fill out, but I didn't interview soldiers. I didn't really want to turn their stories into fiction.
Okay.
I needed to do something different.
Definitely. Well, talk with us a little bit about the book and what our readers can expect to experience.
Well, they can expect, what I've been told is that a lot of times when people read it, either they pick it up and they can't put it down. They read it in like 2 days.
Right.
Or they pick it up and they read it and they read like 1 or 2 at a time, and then they put it away for a while. And then they come back to it because it really is intense material. It's not like battle scenes or shoot 'em up. It's very literary and poetic, but it's really vivid and personal. And so that can feel like a lot to take in. So one example of a story I like to talk about when I'm in North Carolina and on book tour is called Getting Perspective, and it takes place in what I imagine to be Mitchell County, North Carolina. And it's written from the perspective of a young woman who lost her husband to the war in Iraq.
Okay.
So that's one example.
Wow.
There are some other kids ones. Tonight I'm going to read one that is about 2 young Afghan boys who sneak out at night and play soccer in Kabul Stadium. So it's a whole array.
Okay, sounds great. Now, is there a piece of the book that you'd like to share with us on the show today?
Sure, yeah. The fun thing about this book, it's called Flashes of War, and there are 26 stories in it that are actually flash fictions. So they're 1 to 3 pages long.
Okay.
So it's really easy to share.
Fantastic.
And there are some other stories that are longer as well. But I'll just read the opening story. It's called While the Rest of America's at the Mall.
Okay. Sounds perfect.
It's not quite sniper fire, but it isn't random either. The Hajis so much as hear me think, and they start gunning the water from their position on the bridge, bullets raining like a Carolina downpour. They can't see me in the dark, so I toss a balled-up t-shirt far as I can toward enemy fire to mess with their thinking. They aim right for it, the shirt lurching like a live wire while I dip underwater and start swimming the opposite direction. By the time I've crawled up the banks of the Darya Yikonar and radioed the airstrike on their exact location, the Hajis are still standing there, shooting that shirt all the way to the Indus River. Dark swimming is my gig this tour, Navy SEALs. You'd never believe me, but the underwater night goggles make this place look like the tropics. Bullets glitter through the water in slow-mo, little Hershey's Kisses moving in silver arcs the way I remember Savannah tossing them to me on her 4th birthday. "It's raining kisses, Daddy," she sang. She made up the tune, And it's almost a joke now, trying to think of the last time I made up a song for no particular reason. Any second now, that bridge will sizzle, and Spaulding will crack some joke about the konar looking more like Haji soup. Then Lieutenant will pluck that tea tree toothpick out of his mouth and nod and say, "Good work, son." So corny it could be from the movies, and I wish this was all of us busting drug convoys 50 clicks north of Kabul, while the rest of America's at the mall.
Wow. I'm very impressed with you because it does. It feels like you're right there and like you're experiencing it.
Good.
Very neat. Now, you have been sharing this book with a lot of students in our area, correct?
Yeah, I haven't actually gotten to read from the book with the students, but I've been teaching the skills of how to write flash fiction at Two Rivers Community School. It's a charter school. And I've been with the 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th grades every morning all week. They brought me in. It was partially funded, I think, by a donation and then also by the local arts council. So I've been working hard with them, and they have been making up stories, and they're going to share them in an open mic tomorrow. So I'm really excited for them. They worked really hard.
Fantastic.
And I've also been staying at the Mass Farm Inn thanks to a generous offer there. So it's been a really special way to meet the area.
Right. Well, we're so happy you're here in the high country. And then there's an event tonight that everyone should plan to attend.
Yeah, I'm reading at Black Bear Books at 5:30. So it should be fun if you've never come to an author reading before. They're really low key. You get to hear a few stories, get a book signed if you want, ask questions, and I hope that people come on out. It's always fun to meet a new author.
Absolutely. Well, it was very cool getting to hear you read just a segment today on the show, so definitely a neat thing to do. Now, have you written other books?
You know, I have a really small print run of one called Lost Crossings, and it's about the footbridges in Mitchell and Yancey counties.
Okay.
So if you Google that, you can find it, and UNC TV did a documentary on it. So it's all about the history of the swinging footbridges.
Fantastic. Well, a lot of talent right here on the couch with me right now. Thank you so much for coming in to share with us.
Thank you.
Of course. And we will be back right after these messages with more of the Mountain Television Network.